same time. Sweet. Let's hear some three sounds of the bell. Dear respected Thai, dear sisters and brothers here, today is September 18th in 2021 and we are with Deer Park's Road Retreat in Oakland, California. Welcome home! It was a legendary road retreat and I'm so glad we close it legendarily here. And I wish we all have a legendary and unforgettable weekend of practice together. Let me ask you, when was the last time somebody read a fairy tale to you? Give me a hand, like longer than a week ago? Everyone. Longer than a year ago? Everyone. Nearly everyone. Longer than 5 years ago? Oh my Buddha, we got to change this. There we go. Please make yourself comfortable. I'm here to comfort you with a beautiful fairy tale. Reading it only for you. If you want to lie down, if you want to close your eyes, just open your heart and listen carefully. It will take a bit, so be patient. Here we go. Let me take a posture like this fairy tale uncles. Imagine a fireplace behind us. The fisherman and his wife. There was once a fisherman and his wife who lived together in a hovel by the seashore. And the fisherman went out every day with his hook and line to catch fish. And he angled and angled. One day he was sitting with his rod and looking into the clear water, and he sat and sat. At last, down went the line to the bottom of the water, and when he drew it up, he found a great flounder on the hook. And the flounder said to him, "Fisherman, listen to me. Let me go. I'm not a real fish, but an enchanted prince. What good shall I be to you if you land me? I shall not taste well. So put me back into the water again, and let me swim away." "Well," said the fisherman, "no need of so many words about that matter. As you can speak, I had much rather let you swim away." Then he put him back into the clear water, and the flounder sank to the bottom, leaving a long streak of blood behind him. Then the fisherman got up and went home to his wife in their hovel. "Well, husband," said the wife, "have you caught nothing today?" "No," said the man. "That is, I did catch a flounder, but as he said he was an enchanted prince, I let him go again." "Then, did you wish for nothing?" said the wife. "No," said the man. "What should I wish for?" "Oh dear," said the wife. "And it is so dreadful always to live in this evil-smelling hovel. You might as well have wished for a little cottage. Go again and call him. Tell him we want a little cottage. I dare say he will give it to us. Go, and be quick." And he went back. The sea was green and yet, and not nearly so clear. So he stood and said, "O man, if man you be, or flounder in the sea. Such a tiresome wife I've got, for she once what I do not. What does she do? Said the man. You know, when I caught you, my wife says I ought to have wished for something. She does not want to live any longer in the hovel and would rather have a cottage. Go home with you, said the flounder. She has it already. So the man went home and found, instead of the hovel, a little cottage, and his wife was sitting on a bench before the door. And she took him by the hand and said to him, come in and see if this is not a great improvement. So they went in, and there was a little house place and a beautiful little bedroom, a kitchen and larder, with all sorts of furniture, and iron and brassware on the very best. And at the back was a little yard with fowl ducks, and a little garden full of green vegetables and fruit. Look, said the wife, is not that nice? Yes, said the man. If this can only last, we shall be very well contented. We'll see about that, said the wife. And after a meal, she went to bed. So all went well for a week or fortnight, when the wife said, look here, husband, the cottage is really too confined, and the yard and garden are so small, I think the flounder had better get us a larger house. I should like very much to live in a large stone castle. So go to your fish, and he will send us a castle. Oh, my dear wife, said the man, the cottage is good enough. What do we want a castle for? And do not like to go to him again. He may be angry. Go along, said as well give us as not. Do as I say. The man felt very reluctant and unwilling, and he said to himself, it is not the right thing to do. Nevertheless, he went. So when he came to the seaside, the water was purple and dark blue and grey and thick, and not green and yellow as before. And he stood and said, oh man, if man, here's some wife I've got, for she wants what I do not. Now go home with you. She's already standing on the steps, about to go in. So she took him by the hand and said, let us enter. With that he went in with her, and in the castle was a great hall with a marble pavement, and there were a great many servants who led them through large doors, and the passages were decked with tapestry. Thank you. Can you bring the mic closer to you? And the passages were decked with tapestry, and the rooms with a large garden with the most beautiful flowers and fine fruit trees, and a pleasance full of a half mile long, with deer and oxen and sheep, and everything that her heart could wish for. There, said the wife, is not this beautiful? Oh, yes, said the man. If it will only last, we can live in. In the meanwhile, we will sleep upon it. With that, they went to bed. The next morning, the wife was awake first, just at the break of day, and she looked out and saw from her bed the beautiful country lying all around. The man took no notice of it, so she poked him in the side with her elbow and said, husband, get up and just look out of the window. Look, just think if he would be king over all this country. Just go to your fish and tell him we should like to be king. Now, wife, said the man, what should we be kings for? I don't want to be king. Well, said the wife, if you don't want to be king, I will be king. Now, wife, said the man, what do you want to be king for? I could not ask such a thing. Why not, said the wife. You must go directly all the same. I must be king. So the man went, very much put out that his wife should want to be king. It is not the right thing to do. Not at all the right thing, thought the man. He did not at all want to go, and yet he went all the same. And when he came to the sea, the water was quite dark grey, and rushed far inland, and had an ill smell. And he stood and said, oh man, if man you be or a flounder, flounder in the sea. Such a tiresome wife I've got, for she wants what I do not. Now then, what does she want? Said the fish. Oh dear, said the man. She wants to be king. Go home with you. He is so already, said the fish. So the man went back, and as he came to the palace, he saw it was very much larger and had great towers and splendid gateways. The herald stood before the door, and a number of soldiers with kettle drums and trumpets. And when he came inside, everything was of marble and gold, and there were many curtains with great golden tassels. Then he went through the doors of the saloon to where the great throne room was, and there was his wife sitting upon a throne of gold and diamonds. And she had a great golden crown on, and the scepter in her hand was of pure gold and jewels. And on each side stood 6 pages in a row, each one a head shorter than the other. So the man went up to her and said, "Well, wife, now you are king." "Yes," said the wife. Now I said her for some time, he said, "Well, wife, this is fine for you to be king. Now there is nothing more to wish for." "Oh, husband," said the wife, "go to the fish and tell him that now I'm king, I must be emperor." "Now, wife," said the man, "what do you want to be emperor for?" "Husband," said she, "go and tell the fish I want to be emperor." "Oh dear," said the man, "he could not do it. I cannot ask him such a thing. There is but one emperor at a time. The fish can possibly make you an emperor. Indeed, he can't." "Now look here," said the wife. "I'm king, and you are only my husband. So will you go at once? Go along, for it was able to make me, he is able to make me emperor, and I will and must be emperor. Go along." So he was obliged to go, and as he went, he felt very uncomfortable about it, and he thought to himself, "It is not at all the right thing to do. To want to be emperor is really going too far. The flounder will soon be beginning to get tired of this." With that, he came to the sea, and the water was quite black and thick, and the foam flew, and the wind blew, and the man was terrified. But he stood and said, oh man, if man you be, or flounder, flounder in the sea. Such a tiresome wife I've got, for she wants what I do not." "What is it now?" said the fish. "Oh," said the man, "my wife wants to be emperor." "Go home with you," said the fish. "She is emperor already." So the man went home and found the castle adorned with polished marble and alabaster figures and golden gates. The troops were being marshaled before the door, and they were blowing trumpets and beating drums and cymbals. And when he entered, he saw barons and earls and dukes waiting for servants, and the doors were of bright gold. And he saw his wife sitting up on a throne made of one entire piece of gold, and it was about 2 miles high. And she had a great golden crown on, which was about 3 yards high, set with brilliants and carbuncles. And in one hand she held a scepter, and in the other the globe. And on both sides of her stood pages in 2 rows, all arranged according to their size, from the most enormous giant of 2 miles to the tiniest dwarf of the size of my little finger. And before her stood earls and dukes in crowds. So the man went up to her and said, "Well, wife, so now you're emperor." "Yes," said she, "now I am emperor." Then he went and sat down and had a good look at her. And then he said, "No, now, wife, there's nothing left to be. Now you're emperor." "What are you talking about, husband?" said she. "I am emperor, and next I will be pope. So go and tell the fish so." "Oh dear," said the man, "what is it that you don't want? You can never become pope. There is but one pope in Christendom, and the fish can't possibly do it." "Husband," said she, "no more words about it. I must and will be pope, so go along to the fish." "Now, wife," said the man, "how can I ask him such a thing? It is too bad. It is asking a little too much. And besides, he could not do it." "What rubbish," said the wife. "If he could make me emperor, he can make me pope. Go along and ask him. I am emperor, and you are only my husband. So go you must." So he went, feeling very frightened, and he shivered and shook, and his knees trembled. And there arose a great wind, and the clouds flew by, and it grew very dark. And the sea rose mountains high, and the ships were tossed about. And the sky was partly blue in the middle, but at the sides very dark and red, as in a great tempest. And he felt very desponding, and stood trembling, and said, oh man, if man you be, or flounder, flounder in the sea. Such a tiresome wife I've got, for she wants what I do not." "Well, what now?" said the fish. "Oh dear," said the man, "she wants to be pope." "Go home with you, she's pope already," said the fish. So he went home, and he found himself before a great church, with palaces all around. He had to make his way through a crowd of people, and when he got inside, he found the place lighted up with thousands and thousands of lights. And his wife was clothed in a golden garment and sat upon a very high throne, and had 3 golden crowns on, all in the greatest priestly pomp. And on both sides of her there stood 2 rows of lights of all sizes, from the size of the longest tower to the smallest rushlight. And all the emperors and kings were kneeling before her and kissing her foot. "Well, wife," said the man, and sat and stared at her, "so you are pope?" Yes, said she, now I'm Pope. And he went on gazing at her till he felt dazzled, as if he were sitting in the sun. And after a little time he said, well, now, wife, what is there left to be? Now you're Pope. And she sat up very stiff and straight and said nothing. And he said again, well, wife, I hope you are contented at last with being Pope. You can be nothing more. We'll see about that, said the wife. With that they both went to bed, but she was far as ever from being contented. And she could not get to sleep for thinking of what she could do next. The husband, however, slept as fast as after his busy day, but the wife tossed and turned from side to side the whole night through, thinking all the while what she could be next, but nothing would occur to her. And when she saw the red dawn, she slipped off the bed and sat before the window to see the sunrise. And as it came up, she said, ah, I have it. What if I should make the sun and moon to rise, husband? She cried and stuck her elbow in his ribs. Wake up and go to your fish and tell him I want power over the sun and moon. The man was so fast asleep that when he started up, he fell out of bed. Then he shook himself together and opened his eyes and said, oh, wife, what did you say? Husband, said she, if I cannot get the power of making the sun and moon rise when I want them, I shall never have another quiet hour. Go to the fish and tell him so. Oh, wife, said the man, and fell on his knees to her. The fish can really not do that for you. I grant you he could make you emperor and pope. Do be contented with that, I beg of you. And she became wild with impatience and screamed out, I can't wait no longer. Go at once. And so off he went as well as he could for fright. And a dreadful storm arose, so that he could hardly keep his feet. And the houses and trees were blown down, and the mountains trembled, and the rocks fell into the sea. The sky was quite black, and it thundered and lightened, and the waves crowned with foam ran mountains high. So he cried out without being able to hear his own words. Oh man you be, or a flounder, flounder in the sea. Such a tiresome wife I've had, for she wants what I do not. Well, what now, said the flounder. Oh dear, said the man. She wants to order about the moon and the sun. Go home with you, said the flounder. You will find her in the old hovel. And there they are sitting to this very day. Now we can close our eyes and listen to the sound of the bell. So the moral of the story, it's from Grimm's Brothers. There's always a little bit more that we could like. Always a tiny little bit. And if we get it, I just need a little bit more to be happy. Like my blanket in the winter, in a cold winter night, I snuggle in and put them over my shoulder, and my feet are cold because the blanket is too short. And then I cover my feet, and they're nicely warm on my feet at my shoulders. And I go up and down and up and down, and the blanket is always too short. Isn't it something that everyone else knows, or am I the only one who has never enough? Who thinks there's always a little bit more. If I just had that, I would be really happy. But how could I be happy then if I would be happy here and now? Who guarantees me that I will be happy when I have this, what I believe is missing? And then I have it and I feel it's fine, but just Pope, maybe Pope, right? I would probably recognize it and speak to it and say, Hello, my dear greed, my desire, how are you? And speak like the fish. What is it? What are you needing now? And time would probably say, are you sure? And test us. Well, we know that fairy tales point at the human psyche, and that all those figures are basically our psyche, our different persons in that fairy tale roles. Like the wife, of course, is the desire, the greed inside of us. And to me, the husband sounds like my conscience. When I want too much, I know that it is not right. It feels not right, as he often said, but I still go for it. And I think it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right at all. But he went. And the sea, right? The sea is like the environment or the conditions. And often, when I have a desire which I believe I have to have in order to be happy, even my conscience is trying to telling me, you don't need that. This is not possible, or it's just, it's not appropriate. And even the conditions and environment are not sufficient, we say. And everything turns against me and saying it's the wrong way. Like maybe I want to go somewhere, but I don't get an Uber. It starts raining outside. Everything is against me, but I want it and I will do it. And that is what the fish is for me. The fish is my volition, my willpower, which makes everything happen and possible. Even I know that it is not the right thing, but if I really want it, I can do it. My willpower, my volition. So why is it that we always believe that we need external things to be happy and contented? That we always believe something outside is missing to make me happy inside. And I know it very well when I was still a layperson and I had my job and I had watches. You see, I had not one watch to look at what time it is. I had many watches for each occasion. And I always thought maybe I can buy this watch for that occasion. Or sometimes when I go to a wedding, I could wear this watch. And when I go for sport, I could wear this watch. So one watch was not enough. I was into music and had electric. It sounds better, and you can make different kind of music with it. And I bought it, and then I thought, slating, but an expensive one. And then I had it, and then I thought maybe a foot pedal would be it. And all these sound machines. I was into slot car racing with my brother-in-law. I had a 100 feet slot car track, and it was never enough. We bought always extra parts and extended it. I mean, these slot cars, we pimped the engine, bought better engines, and then they were so fast that the track couldn't handle them anymore. And we needed magnets to keep them down to the track because they were so powerful. And it was never enough. And this is my story. So hearing my story, you probably now have in your mind what you have never enough of in your life. And maybe you go to through your inventory of your apartment, house, carpool, uh, where you see, I don't know why I have these things. It's like we think that when we're piling up things, it will be better and we can solve or our unhappiness with it. When I look at Silicon Valley, the number of apps that are created every day, like you have a software or a program and it's never enough. Instead of like having no apps at all, like having no guitar at all and borrowing it and going to a slot car park and enjoying 3 4 hours there. We want to possess and we want to own everything. And we believe outside makes us happy inside. Material possessions, fame, power, having a castle, being king, emperor, pope, ruling over sun and moon. You know, when it is really enough, first I want to be rich, I want to have more than I have. Then I want to have more comfort because it's not enough. And when I have enough material possessions, I want to be famous and I want to be seen for what I have. And when I'm seen for what I have, it's not enough. I want to have the power to make other famous. So when it is really enough, and are we stable and solid and clear inside enough to see when it is enough? And I doubt it, because as I said, as soon as I start, there is no end. It's a bottomless pit. And if I would be happy from the beginning as this fisherman and be well contented, I wouldn't even ask for something more because I'm already contented. But if I believe that in the future I will be more contented, who guarantees me? For sure, not me, that I will be contented then. There is this musk deer. You know the fragrance, the musk fragrance? There's a musk deer, which is actually not a musk at all, a deer at all. It's another family, but they call it musk. It has a pouch, let's say below its belly, somewhere in the back of its belly. And at times it sprays out that fragrance, that musk, and it smells the musk, and it's really attracted by it. It's only males who are spraying out that musk fragrance, and it's really attracted by it. And it doesn't know where it is coming from, and it's roaming the whole forest to look for the source of that fragrance that it's producing right now. With us humans, we have something inside of us. We have everything inside of us. And we are in touch with it. We can sense it. We know it. We might smell it. And we run around and try to find it. And what we would have to do is to stop and to look inside and find it, because it is there. There's this funny joke, it's an illustration of a man, a hungry man in the middle of the night, probably has a night craving or so, goes to his fridge and opens the fridge, and the light turns on in the fridge, and the fridge is completely empty. There's nothing in it but a little piece of paper with a note on it. And he takes it and sees and reads, and it says, "What you are seeking is already within you." So you had it before, you know? But it's so true, and it's the same with the musk deer. What we are seeking is already inside of us. But why don't we believe ourselves? I don't know. I don't know. Do you know? Ask yourself, why don't I believe myself? I know that. I see on your faces when I've talked about the musk deer and the fridge that we all know that there is happiness, that there is contentment, that there is peace, that there is compassion, that there is understanding and love and joy. But things get stirred up, maybe like the sea in the fairy tale, when we go to work, when we just cross the sea, and our environment is not favorable for us to remember what we have inside and to keep that alive, to keep that seeds watered. Can we have a sound of a bell? When we stop and we turn our attention inwards and we go and follow our breathing, we can get in touch with all these seeds. within us. And we can direct our attention towards these seeds. There's a teaching, it's called Samtusta. Samtusta means we already have more than enough conditions to be happy right here and right now. If we are able to stop and to look deeply, we don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to have a bigger house. We don't need to be Pope. We can be happy as we are. We stop running after things. We stop. The musk deer just has to stop and smell a little bit more deeply to see. When I bend down my hand, actually it gets stronger, so I'm very close. And the same is true with us. When we bend our mind a little bit inwards, our attention inwards towards our breath, we give us a little time. It takes a little time, especially when the environment is noisy and fast and stirred up. It takes a couple of minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, doesn't matter. And what matters is that you feel you get in touch with yourself, that you are enough, that you have enough, that you can stop running. You remember the story when at the Buddha's time there was this murderer who murdered like 99 people, and he said the Buddha is the next. And everybody stayed in their houses and asked the Buddha not to go outdoors, but he went outside. And fair enough, the murderer showed up behind him, and he shouted, "Hey, you Buddha, stop! Stop! Like, I want to kill you," right? Who would stop, actually? I would take my feet in my hand and run as fast as I can. But anyway, the Buddha didn't like pay much attention to it, and the murderer got really like angry. And I said, "I told you to stop, didn't you hear me?" And the Buddha then slowly turned around and smiled. That's the legend, and said, "My dear, I have stopped a long time ago. The one who is running is you. You got to stop, my friend." And that struck the murderer because he knew what was he talking about. He had a desire, wherever from, like to kill people, to find contentment somewhere, to find his own peace in hurting other people. But he realized in that moment that he was running from something, that he was running from himself. And when the Buddha said, "I have stopped a long time ago, you are the one who needs to stop," he exactly knew what he meant. And the legend says that he was so struck by this teaching that he became a monk, and they shaved him on the spot. So if anyone of here is ready, we can have a brother Fab Jam. Can we have a ordination ceremony right here and right now? Woo! Stop running. It is really like it is. You know, happiness is made out of non-happiness elements. Thai says the me is made out of non-me elements. A flower is made of non-flower elements. Thai often emphasizes a flower is made of soil, water, the sun, air. It needs a lot of conditions. And the same is true with me. I'm not only my father and my mother and my ancestors. I'm not only my school and the environment, my friends, what I read, what I eat. I'm so much more not me than I am me. So happiness and contentment contains a lot of non-happiness and non-contentment elements like suffering. What can that be? Yes, suffering is a part of happiness. And Thai often says, in fact, happiness cannot be without suffering. And it becomes clear to me when I see that realization of interbeing, that we inter-are with each other. And now we are here all together. And we can be in touch with being enough, with being ourselves. And we did. We came here to stop and to practice together. And we can see that there are more than enough conditions for me in every moment to stop, to look inside of me and water these seeds. And I can ask myself, what is it what I need? right? Right now. Let's say not Pope, but I'm really hungry. And I can see, is it really hunger that I need? Or I really need to be with someone now and go bowling. Then just hear Tai saying, are you sure? Like, look, stop and look a little bit deeply. What do you need? And maybe you find that you just need some connection. And then you might think, okay, I'm going to call my friend. I need connection. But that's also external. And it's good to call your friend, of course, but ask yourself, is that really what I need right now? I call someone. Or can I go just and stop and follow my breathing and look inside and water the seed of connection inside of me? Connecting with myself, with my uh, pouch, with my musk, and enjoy it, because that's what we are running for. We are running for ourselves. We are looking for ourselves. We are looking for the happiness of ourselves. Desire or greed is one of the three poisons in Buddhist psychology. There are three poisons that cause suffering. And these are hatred, greed, and ignorance. And they all come from fear, from a certain kind of fear. It's just fear. We're all afraid, and it's fine. Everybody is afraid. Some of the dark, some of spiders. And these three fears, so hatred has the fear of being rejected. Desire, greed has the fear of being abandoned. And ignorance of being not good enough. Let's focus on the greed, the fear of being abandoned. And I know that very well. And that's also where addiction stems from, because you want to fill it up with something from the outside. There's a lack. You believe there is a lack of something. You don't have enough musk inside yourself, not enough happiness. So you got to buy it. And then when the bottle is empty or the joint is smoked, you go and get a new one. Until you find out that's not it, I'm just wasting my money here and my health. But being abandoned means that you feel you are lonely when there's nothing around you but just space. So much space that you feel disconnected with everything. And it's not even like with anger that you are rejected, that somebody says, nope, not you, and you're left out. But it's that there is no one who would, maybe those with greed would be even happy to be rejected, but just to feel they're part of something. But being so lonely, you believe you need something from the outside. Luckily, there are also remedies to each of these fears. What would be loving kindness for anger or hatred? What would be wisdom or the realization of interbeing for the ignorance is generosity for greed and desire. Generosity comes from the realization that Samtusta, we have more than enough conditions already to be happy right here and right now. Actually, this space, which I believe is empty around me, and makes me feel so lonely, is the abundance of seeds and possibilities and happiness if I'm able to touch it. And it can turn from an endless suffering, from an ocean of suffering into an ocean of peace and contentment. I learned for myself that when I feel greedy, I wouldn't share things. I think I need them for myself. Let's say a box of cookies. Now I have a box of cookies and I really think I deserve them and I need them. If I don't eat this whole box of cookies, I will be somehow like, you don't want to talk to me. Or my morning coffee. That's a better example because I love my morning coffee. If somebody comes for my first morning coffee and asks if he can have a sip, that's it for my day. I'm not talking to you any longer. But that's exactly that, because I believe I need this in order to be happy. And only because I'm disconnecting myself from myself. I'm saying I don't have enough conditions. I need this coffee to be happy, and you are my enemy because you want to drink it. I'm disconnecting from this brother, I'm disconnecting from myself, and I believe my happiness depends on external conditions. So for me, I found when I feel there is greed, there's desire, and I believe I need that outside, I give it away. I cannot guarantee, but let me say if you come in the morning and see me drinking my first coffee and say, "Can I have a sip?" I will give you the whole mug. I think I'm not there yet. But it's an aspiration. So but this is the remedy. Generosity is the remedy. So generosity outwards and restraint inwards. If you know that you don't need much to be happy, that you basically only need to come back to yourself and water these seeds of peace, contentment, and you find them within you. You found your pouch of musk. You are happy. And then you are happy to share your happiness by giving away things. When I then finally became a monk, I gave away my electric guitar, the amplifier, I gave them to my friends. And if they wanted to give me money for it because I needed money, I've sold myself. I've sold everything what I believed I was. And it was not easy, but I remembered who I am and that I have more than enough conditions, and then I felt free. And feeling free, I was happy with nothing. And nothing was all I ever wanted. That gives me the real space, and I would give things away out of the joy to see the joy in the other face. So that's my message for today. I want to end with another anecdote, another little story of John Lennon. When John Lennon was a little boy, and he went to school, and the teacher asked him, "I give you an assignment for tomorrow, so please write down what do you want to become when you grow up." Okay, so little Johnny went back home and told his mom about the assignment, and she said, "My dear Johnny," she said, "the most important thing in life is to be happy. So now you choose." And he took that in, and he went to school the next day, and every kid read out their what they wanted to become when they grow up. And there were astronauts, and there were billionaires, and there were policemen and artists. And then little Johnny, his turn was, and he said, "When I grew up, I want to be happy." And the teacher was a little bit annoyed, and she said, "John, I think you didn't understand the question." And he said, "And I think you don't understand life. So be a happy person. That's enough. You are enough."